I am really glad to be with you guys. The fact that we can talk junk to each other means we're family. You know, I love that. So I'm really grateful for Michigan fans and Michigan State fans. I'm really grateful for you. And Michigan State fans, just so you know, I was hoping Purdue would win yesterday to represent Big Ten. I'm hoping your crew wins. We got to have some representation in the Final Four. Whew, that was hard for me to say. Okay, now let's listen. We're starting a new sermon series today called The Longest Night. And it's the night before Jesus' crucifixion. So it leads right up to his death and resurrection. And so we're going to be looking at what does that longest night look like for him. But for us, I got to tell you, the first time I heard Alan came to me and said, we're going to do the longest night, I thought about my childhood, actually. That's the first thing I thought about when he started mentioning it and talking through it. I thought about being a kid and remembering there was a few nights where I had nightmares and I woke up and I was scared to death. And if you've ever been a kid and you ever had a nightmare, you know those nights can be really long. It doesn't seem like they end. And so I found myself in my mom's room and my mom praying for me. And I can even remember a night when I didn't go in her room the first nightmare I had, I can remember not going in because I didn't know if I could. And then after that, going in and her praying for me. But I also remember that there came a point in time, and I don't know when, and I don't know if it was my mom or my grandma, but I got a teddy bear. Okay, no, not a teddy bear because I don't want my man card pulled. And a soft action figure. Look, when I was a youth pastor, this kid used to bring a teddy bear, and he said one day, I'm like, man, you 14, why are you bringing this teddy bear here? And he said, he got really offended. He's like, it's not a teddy bear, it's a soft action figure. I was like, my man, that's what I'm talking about. So at 3, I had my soft action figure with me, and it brought me great comfort when I had these nightmares. So I brought my soft action figure with me today. And most of you have had those moments when you were a kid, right? And mom praying for you did it. Your soft action figure did it for you. But the truth is as we grown up, that soft action figure doesn't get it anymore. A simple prayer just won't get it anymore because our long nights are no longer just a little nightmare. That we're going through all sorts of stuff that seem to be unending. And so in the series, this is what we want to talk about because a lot of us are going through a long night right now. And for some of us, it's health issues. I know right now there's quite a few of you who are struggling with health issues. Some of you used to be able to run, now you can just walk. And I'm not saying that in a funny way, like and it's hurting you. Or you can't walk without having some help. Or you're battling cancer. That's a long, long, long night. And it doesn't seem like the fight is over, and it doesn't seem like there's any hope. And for some of us, you're even waking up in pain. That's a long night. And no teddy bear action figure will get it done. And so we're going to talk about that. And for some of us, financially, I know somebody right now who just lost their job, and now they're thinking, I can't pay the house bill. And basically in my conversation with them, one of the things they said was, the bills are piling up, and so is the stress. But and the money's drying up. That's a long night. And so we're going to talk about that. And for some of us, we've just been hurt. Some of us right now have somebody in our life who really hurt us, who did us real dirty. And the wound is so deep, and people want to tell you it's going to be okay, and you want to say, shut up. It hurts. Because no little prayer or teddy bear is going to help. It's a long night. For some of us, we are watching our kids right now who are in their teens or early 20s. Some of them making great decisions, but I'm not talking about them right now, who are making just decisions that it's breaking your heart. You can see where this will lead, and they don't hear you. And in fact, they have enough unbelievable spine to turn to you and say, it's your fault. That's a long night. It's a long night. Some of us were in a marriage right now, and when we first got in that marriage, it was I do, but right now it's I don't. I'm in this marriage, but I don't feel like being here. I don't feel the way I used to. I don't feel like serving. I don't. For some of us, it's past I don't, and we are separated. That's a long night. For some of us, we just lost somebody. We just lost somebody so dear to us, whether it's a family member, a really close friend. And that's a deep, deep, deep emptiness, deep, deep void. And I'm not talking about just in the last month. If you lost somebody real close to you in the last 3 years, you still are feeling the pain of that. In the next 5 years, you're still feeling the pain of that. And anytime you hear a friend lose somebody, you go right back to your loss. And how many know when you lose somebody really dear to you, it can sometimes throw you in a tailspin? Long night. And so I want to talk about these things. And what's even more frustrating at times is when we're going through these long nights, sometimes we feel like God is silent, don't we? Like, where you at, God? I'm talking, but I don't hear anything. And it makes it seem like the night is even darker. And sometimes we know God's there, but he ain't hearing us the way we need him to hear us, because he ain't doing it our way. He ain't answering us the way we want to be answered. Dark night, long night. And so we're going to look at Jesus' longest night, because in his longest night, we're going to see, for the next few sermons, we're going to see a few things. Number one, we're going to see that he wasn't a long night. We're going to see how he responded to that longest night. And then we're going to see how his response to his longest night impacts us, and how it really is a game changer for our lives. And so I'm really excited about this series. And here's the thing. You may say, I'm not in a long night. Well, you might be in your daytime, but at the end of every day, there's a night. So you might not be in a night right now, but a night is coming. And so I want you to lean in for the next few weeks as we share about this. But before I jump into the first topic today, I just want to slow down and just pray for our time. So if you would just pray with me. Father, as I am even talking about this, my heart goes out to the many in my church family right here who are in a long night, who are going through something really tough, who feel like there is no hope. They can't see when day is coming. And I just pray that you would minister to them in these next few weeks, Lord. That you would just minister to them, that they would feel uplifted, that they would feel strengthened, that they would be able to see dawn is cracking. And for the rest of us, Lord, who might not be in a dark night, that we would lean in, because if we've lived long enough, another dark night's coming, another long night is coming, and we need to know this information so we're prepared, so we respond better, so that you can operate through us better during these long, dark times. We just pray your Spirit be with us and bless this time in your name. Amen. So today what I want to talk about is the first topic in the sermon series, and it's called Helping While Hurting. And that's a tough thing to even swallow. But I want to tell you about a young man named Austin Hatch, because he is the example of helping while hurting. Austin is 23. He just graduated from U of M. Oh, y'all didn't, you know. By the way, thank you. By the way, somebody asked me if I was going to be helping y'all out today while I was hurting because U of M lost. All right, I got you. But listen, he's 23. He just graduated from U of M. He's just got married. And it seems like his darkest, longest night is over. He's actually a speaker. He goes around the country. People want to hear him speak. And he's doing really good things with his life. He's helping others when he goes speak. But that's not how the story really, we're seeing the dawn after the dark night. But I want to back up and look at his night a little bit. At the age of 8, Austin and his family decided that they were going to go on a vacation. So him, his 2 siblings, his mom, his dad packed into this plane. His dad piloted it. They were flying. And the engine goes out and it crashes. And out of the rubble is left his father with 3rd-degree burns in Austin. His 2 siblings and mom are dead. How do you deal with that at the age of 8? How could you have seen them die? Austin was hurting. His father was hurting, and they were in such a deep, dark place. They were grieving, and they didn't even know how to deal with it. And his father didn't even know how do you help your son at 8 who's seen this? How do you help him process grief? And so they turned to basketball. They found that on the basketball court, it became their sanctuary. They found on the basketball court that they could talk about their loss while they were shooting hoops. They found that on the basketball court that they could really start expressing their love for each other again and realizing that they at least had each other. They found on the basketball court that they could start dreaming together again. And from the age of 8 until 16, his father and Austin played a lot of basketball together. And at the age of 16, you have to know that by the time he was 16 and a sophomore in high school, that his father had gotten remarried. Austin had another mother who he really loved. 4 siblings from this mother who he really loved. And life looked like it was starting to make a turn for the better. And then at the age of 16, middle of his basketball season, U of M reached out to him and gave him a letter and said, we want to give you a full ride scholarship because we believe you have the character and the skill to be a student athlete at this college. And this was a dream for his dad and him, that he would go play ball at U of M, and then he'd go play pro ball. And so it seems like the dawn was coming. And a few weeks after the letter, they decide to go on vacation. They're flying. And the plane crashes again. And Austin loses everybody. His second mom, his second set of 4 siblings, his father. He can't walk. He can't talk. And he finds himself eventually in a coma. You want to talk about a long night. How do you even begin? How do you begin? But we know the end of the story, don't we? I told you he's married. He graduated. He played ball at U of M. So something happened in the middle of this unbelievably painful, hurtful situation. He's in a coma. He comes out of the coma, and he starts to rehab. And he rehabs hard for about a year until he can walk and he's talking, and eventually he can run, and then he's playing ball again. And then he's playing well enough where the U of M said, we're going to give you the scholarship. You won't be able to play a lot of minutes, but you've worked back, so you could give us a few minutes, and he goes off to college. Remarkable, isn't it? But what's more remarkable about this story is not even that this guy who lost everything, who lost 9 family members, 1 dad, 2 moms, 6 siblings, lost his ability to walk and talk, was in a coma, and came out of it. That's not what's most remarkable about it. It's not most remarkable that he worked hard and regained his scholarship and went off to college and got a good degree and is now married and now a speaker all across the world. That's not what's remarkable. What's remarkable is when you talk to people who are around him during his rehab, when you talk to people who were on his team for basketball, they said, we don't even know how he was able to deal with this, but it seems like every time we were around him, we were getting helped. What? Helping. Wow. Hurting is what I want to talk about today. And I want to look in John 13, because in the chapter 13 of John, we see that Jesus was hurting and he helped. Jesus was in grave. He was feeling the weight of all sorts of hurt and pain, and yet he helped. And when we look at this text, there's 2 questions that I want to answer for us as we look at John 13. One, how did Jesus help while hurting? How could he have done this? What drove him to be able to do this? And then second of all, how can we help while hurting? So if you have the scripture with you, if you have your phone with you, fine. I'm going to put it up here. I want to look at this text. But right before I look at it, I want to slow down. And before I even answer the questions, I think there's something I need to do. I want to read this text. And then what I want to do in this text is I want to slow it down. I want to show you, I think it's really important for you and I to understand that Jesus was actually really hurting in this moment when he went on and helped his disciples. And so I want to walk that out a little bit so we have a full understanding of the pain and hurt Jesus was in when he did what he did. So let me read for you. John chapter 13, verses 1 to 5. It was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that his hour had come. I'm going to say that again. Jesus knew that his hour had come, because I'm going to come back to that in a moment, because that's a major statement that helps us understand what Jesus was going through. Jesus knew his hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. If you don't know anything else, he's already getting betrayed. And we already know how that feels. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with a towel that was wrapped around him. So we see that he's helping, but I want us to see that he was hurting. This statement that Jesus knew his hour had come, you look it up, you Google it, you look at any scholar book, what they're going to tell you is that Jesus knew that he was about to die and be rose again. But what they don't tell you is everything that is entailed in that everything that happened just before that, and that Jesus understood everything he had to do in order just to get to the cross, in order to just get to be buried so he could be rose again. What they don't tell you in this is that Jesus knew that, well, they do. The one thing they tell you is that Judas betrayed him. That one of his ride or die guys said, give me 30 pieces of silver, and that's what this relationship is about. What? You ever have somebody sell you out like that? Well, actually, I've had people sell me out for free. At least he got 30 pieces of silver. Now that I'm thinking about it. Okay, let me refocus. How many know it hurts when somebody does you like this? Jesus is sitting there eating bread with this guy knowing he did him dirty. But that's not even the worst of it. He also knows that the other disciples are going to deny him. He tells them that at the table. He says, y'all all are going to walk away from me. You're not just going to walk away from me like this has been real. You're going to walk away from me and act like we never even had a relationship. And Jesus knew this. His hour was coming. He was starting to feel this. You walk away from me and act like you ain't never known me? To be honest, I don't know if that might even be worse than at least getting 30 pieces of silver. But his hurt doesn't end there. Jesus is hurting. He's feeling this. His hour has come. He's thinking through all this stuff that's starting to play out. Jesus knows that he's going to get arrested and he's going to get brought to trial, basically. And he's going to be accused of things that he did not do. That Jesus lived a perfect life. Today we would say he had an unbelievable brand. And somebody was about to just smear it through the mud. All he had worked for, they're going to undercut it and say all sorts of bad things about him that wasn't true. You ever had that happen to you? You ever had somebody falsely accuse you of some stuff? But this was going to get him killed. Jesus was hurting, but it's deeper than that. After his false accusal, he also knew that they were going to torture him. He knew that the Roman soldier, who was amazing at torture, by the way, they knew how to do torture right, that they were going to beat him into an inch of his life, almost to unconscious, that they were going to make him carry this 300 to 400 pound cross. Jesus was in, when we say his hour come, this is all the stuff he's understanding meant his hour, and he's feeling at this moment. But it doesn't stop there. They actually put him on the cross. And if you know anything about the cross, it causes you to die of suffocation. That you die slowly over a few hours period of time because you can't breathe. But it takes 5, 6 hours of excruciating pain, suffocation. Jesus was hurting. We know that on the cross, he looks out and sees his mom and asks John to take care of him because Jesus has this realization that my mom's not dying, but she will be dead to me in a few minutes as I die. That I'm losing my family when I die. I'm hurting. Jesus, hurting. Not only that, we would think this would be enough. Jesus knew that as he took this cross and he was on the cross, that he was going to bear the weight of all of our sin, bear the weight of all of our pain, bear the weight of all of our brokenness, of every person who ever lives. Jesus was hurting. It sounds cool when it's like his hour came, like he's about to get it. No. He had to sit back and say, this is on and popping, and I want you to know that Jesus was hurting in this moment. But what is so amazing is in this moment, he doesn't talk about himself at all. What does he do? What does Jesus do? He looks at his disciples and is asking himself, what do they need? What? I mean, when I was writing the sermon, I started crying seriously when I was walking through what Jesus endured because I had a clear realization that he endured this for me. The whole reason why Jesus was having this hurt, this monumental, hurtful moment, was because of me and my sin, because of you and your sin. That he actually came because of us in the first place, and then he's got this monumental hurt on him, and instead of saying, I'm already doing so much for you, he looks out at us and says, what else do you need? If you don't know Jesus, today is the day. I'm just telling you. Jesus would experience hurt like no other person before him or since. And yet he helped while hurting. So now that we have a clear understanding of what his hour meant and the kind of pain and the kind of heaviness that was on him, now let's turn to the two questions and but to answer them. And that first question is, how could Jesus help when he was hurting? And there's 3 things we find in this text that help us see exactly how, exactly why. And the first is love. The first is love. And it's so funny because we just came out of this love series a few weeks ago. But here's the thing is, everything in the Bible, you have to understand this, that Exodus talks about this quite a bit. That God says this quite a bit through Exodus and through Deuteronomy. He's like, I am your God and you are my people. And he's really saying, I love you and I want to reestablish this relationship with you and I want you to love me. That everything is predicated on the story of God, us. Redemption is all wrapped in love. And so what it says here is this. It was just before the Passover festival, Jesus knew that his hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. He's feeling the weight of all what this hour meant. And then it says, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. You know how deep that is? Because a lot of us will love somebody for a minute, for 15 years. But if something goes down, I ain't loving you to the end, I gotta go. To the end. And what he means is to the end of them denying him. To the end of them, even when they walked away from them. He's loving them. Jesus loved them so deeply that he was able to not ignore his pain. I think this is important for us to understand because a lot of times we don't know how to deal with pain, so we try to, compartmentalize it and just set it aside. Jesus is feeling the weight of this. He's not ignoring his pain, but he's loving through it. His love is so deep that he's able to love through his pain. I don't even know how to do that. I don't even know how to do that. Do you? His love is so deep for them that in all this stuff that's going on, and he's feeling this, he's looking at them and saying, this might be my last time to let them know how much I love them. Oh, I get what they're about to do me. But this may be my last time. I love you. Let me wash your feet. Let me serve you. That his love would compel him to operate through his pain, see what they were needing, and give it to them. This guy, Austin Hatch, when people, and it's funny when you see him in interviews, like if you just Google him, he'll interviews, when they start talking about losing his parents and his siblings, he doesn't like to talk about that. It's like, why would you ask me that on the air? That's emotional. You know how people are, though. People want to get the ratings. And I watched 2 different videos of him doing that, and he said, I'm not going to talk about that. But I also watched him when he was speaking to people, and he'll talk about it some when he's speaking because he can control that narrative. And one of the things he talked about, because people are like, well, how could you have, why wouldn't you just give up on life? Obviously, you should have died twice. You lost absolutely everything. Why wouldn't you just give up on life? And one of the things that he said that compelled him to not give up and to rehab and do everything he has, which then leads to him helping other people, because as he's rehabbing and people around him and as he's living into his dream and people around him, they're like, I'm getting more out of this relationship than I'm giving them. One of the things is, he said, because his love for his pop, that in these 8 years that he had with his dad and on the basketball court, this relationship drove this. He felt like, I have to get back on the court because that's where I connect with dad. I gotta be able to walk. I gotta be able to run because I need to feel dad's love, and where I feel dad's love at is on the basketball court. He's saying that I'm able to help while hurting because of dad's love. What? I'm able to help while hurting because of my Father's love. If you are saved here today, do you understand that your Father loves you like this? If you're not, I'm going to give you a chance today to have this kind of love. Wow. Love allowed Jesus to help while hurting. Love allowed Jesus to help while hurting. Here's the second thing. Jesus understood he had purpose. His purpose. Jesus, and really throughout, let me say it to you, his purpose propelled him past his pain. Jesus' purpose propelled him past the pain. That his purpose was way bigger than the pain. I don't know how it could be. Do you understand what he was going through? I ain't felt pain like Jesus is feeling right now. And yet his purpose was greater than the pain. Look at what it says here. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power and that he had come from God and was returning to God. Here's the thing we got to understand. If he's returning, it's because whatever he came here to do was about to be done, which was his purpose for being here in the first place. His purpose propelled him past the pain. Do we know what Jesus' purpose was? Isaiah 61, one of my favorite scriptures, says this, that Jesus says, the Spirit is upon me. He's saying, here's my moment now. Let me tell you exactly why I'm here. To bring you good news. I know that you haven't had a lot of good news. If you watch the news, I can promise you that's not good news. All you need is 5 minutes of that and you're ready to put a hole in the wall or do something. Jesus says, I'm bringing good news, and let me tell you what that good news is. Part of his purpose was to heal broken hearts. You feeling like you have a broken heart? Give it to me. That song says, come to the altar. You understand that's what Isaiah 61, just give it to me. Just come. I'll heal it. Jesus says this in Isaiah 61, I come to free the captives. Are you enchained to something? Are you chained up by something that has happened, some kind of sin? Do you understand that part of his purpose in redeeming humanity, because we broke all sorts of stuff. He came to redeem humanity, to redeem the relationship between us and God, and in doing so, he said, I want to free you from what holds you. Look, this is what it says in Isaiah 61. He came to release us from darkness. Really what it's saying is that long night, he's coming to release you. He's bringing day. Oh, I'm getting excited. Listen, this is what else it says. To proclaim God's favor for you. That God favors you. Hey, listen, as a kid in school, I used to hate when a teacher had a favorite. And if I knew I wasn't the favorite, I'm about to act a fool up in here today. You giving me some attention somehow, some way. But if you were that favorite, some of y'all put your head down because you knew you were the favorite. I ain't never was a favorite. Never. Ever. Oh, my mom would love me, but I'm saying I was a fool. I want you to understand what Jesus is saying is I've come to proclaim that you are my favorite. That I want to put a blessing on you, that I favor you. What? You know why? Part of his purpose of redeeming us from our sin and our brokenness and fixing this relationship was to comfort us while we are mourning. You ever had that deep mourning where you didn't even know if you could get up the next day? You ever had that deep mourning where you felt like I might not even make it through this day to get to next day, and I don't know how, there's absolutely nothing that could fill this void. You ever had that kind of mourning? I thought it was amazing when Alan and his family shared last week, because what Elena said really affected me. She was like, people were so good at saying, how can I help you? And she said, my answer in my heart was giving my mom back. What she was really saying is the mourning is so deep, there's nothing that can fill it. Jesus says, I'll come to the altar. My purpose is that you can come to me and I will take that. Look at what it says. Last thing in 61. Well, there's a few more, but purpose. Jesus' purpose. That he exchanges ashes for crowns. You ever burnt down a part of your life? You ever light a match to something in your life and it burnt it down? No, y'all don't know what I'm talking about. First of all, I used to light real matches, and I remember I'm looking at my mom right now because I put a hole in the linoleum, and then when she came home, I was like, I don't even know what happened right there. I was the only one home. But come on, player, we know it was you. I lit that match and got the little thing. I was like, shh, there was some ants. I was like, shh. I was like, oh. You ever done that in your life? Jesus says, give it to me, I'll give you a crown. He came to redeem what we broke. He came for what is his, which is us. He wanted this relationship back. We broke it, we sinned, we chose to go against him. He said, I have a greater purpose. It's to fix this thing that you broke. It's to mend the relationship between you, me, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. This is bigger than my pain. Austin Hatch is something interesting. One of the things he talks about is he talks about eventually getting back onto the court and playing is purpose. He said, one of my great purposes was to fulfill my dad's dream that I played at U of M. He said, it compelled me because it was the last thing we had together. He said, it became a purpose of mine to fulfill that. It drove him when he couldn't walk and it hurt to walk. Purpose. Let me say this to you. We can't find our purpose in ourselves. You've got to have a relationship with this kind of Jesus in order to even know your purpose. I don't know how you can't want a relationship with this. Isaiah 61, God. Purpose propelled Jesus past his pain. There's a third thing. Last thing that Jesus had or compelled him. Jesus saw the need. Simple. He was in pain, but he looked at his disciples and he was able to see that they need this. If I don't do this, they might not make it. You understand that he just told them, I'm about to, be betrayed. It's about to go down. I'm about to die. Can you imagine having given up everything you know to follow this charismatic, unbelievable leader, and now you're sitting at the last dinner with him. You don't know it's the last dinner. You just eating and you're hanging out, and he says, this is it, fellas. It's been real. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the kind of sadness and how scared they would be? And in this bombshell moment, what Jesus starts to realize is they need a few things from me. He's in deep pain. They need a few things from me. I can see that they have needs. And one of the things, actually two of the things that they needed was to be comforted and to be refreshed, renewed. And I want to tell you why I say that, because you have to understand that washing feet back in the day isn't like washing feet today. It's not like people had shoes and socks on. Okay? And it's not like they took a bath every night. And you got to know that they were in real dry place, walking around the sand all the time. They were dealing with hobbits. Okay, these were not regular feet. These were super duper dirty, ashy, dried up, cracked. Somebody's like, you really got to go that far with the feet? Please stop. You ever seen some dusty, cracked feet? I'm sorry, I got to go there. You ever seen somebody walking around like Huckleberry Finn? And then you see the feet, like, I can see why. Glass ain't getting through that. I can see that this ain't not a... And you're like, what you need, you want to say lotion, you need Jesus' hand on them. But maybe you don't have cracked feet like that. But you ever had cracked lips like that? Everybody's had that. Okay, let's do that. I'm sorry. You ever had lips and you smiled and it was like, Papa! And you were like, oh. And can you remember when you took the Blistex and you put it on and it was like, How many of you know? Seriously. The relief, the refreshing, the comfort you feel when you can get those boys moist. I'm trying not to be funny, but I guess it is kind of funny. Do you understand that Jesus is like, what would really comfort you, what would really refresh you in my pain is me washing your feet, me bringing relief to you. I'm bringing relief to you. I'm not going to get relief, but I'm bringing relief to you. Do you understand when he was washing the disciples' feet, he was really washing our feet too, because we are his disciples? Do you understand that when he was looking past his pain and he was seeing his disciples' needs, he was looking into the future and seeing my needs, seeing your needs, and saying, what is it that I can do to comfort you? How can I refresh you? Austin goes around the country now, and he talks to people. And when somebody asked him one time, why do you do that? He's like, because there's other people hurting and need hope. He sees the need. He sees that people are hurting. He sees that people have wounds. He sees that people have lost hope. And he says, if there's any story that can return that, it's me telling my story. I want to go and that person who is hopeless say, look, I should have died twice. I was in a coma. There's hope. Because he sees the need. Jesus sees our need. I'm going to close out here, but so band, if you want to come on up, those of you who are doing offering and stuff, just go ahead and start getting where you need to get. But let me just recap for you. How could Jesus help while hurting? Because he had a deep love for us, because his purpose was greater than his pain, and because he just could see our need. He said, I see it. Let me meet your need. So how can we? And there's really two things. There's one thing I need you to know, and then there's one thing I need you to do in order for us to live into how we can help people while they're hurting. The first thing I need you to know is simply this, because I know some of you are going to say, I hear you, Josh, but you don't know how much I'm hurting. You don't know how deep my loss. This is tough. What I need you to know is simply this, is that your whole life, throughout your whole life, you've been hurting. I need you to know, Isaiah 53 says that Jesus was a man well acquainted with sorrow and pain. It's really saying that he walked through his whole life feeling the pain of the world. I want you to know, because we live in a broken world, because I'm broken, because you're broken, which means that anything I do will be semi-broken, that we're hurting. That you're hurting in your best days, you're hurting. Because we're walking limp, we're walking wounded. That no matter what you're going through, that the totality of your life is you're in some kind of pain because of the brokenness brought on by sin. Even in your good days, there's wounds you have. So here's the thing. If we're all hurting and none of us can help while we're hurting, nobody gets helped. Nobody throughout all of history ever gets helped. So I get it, you're hurting. That's what I need you to know. Here's what I need you to do. Pay it forward. Somebody helped you while they were hurting. Many people helped you while they were hurting. Pay it forward. Pay it forward. It's your turn. If you're waiting till you're not hurting, that's never coming. But today, you can pay it forward. This is what Philippians 2, 3, and 4 says. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but rather in humility value others above yourself. Not looking to your own interest, not looking to the fact that you might be in pain, not looking to the fact that you might be hurt, not looking to the fact that you might have a need. Not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interest of others. Pay it forward. Pray with me. If you would just close your eyes. And as I promised earlier on, I want to speak to those of you who may have never committed your life to Christ, to the Jesus of Isaiah 61, who takes ashes and gives you crowns, who takes your broken heart and brings healing, who takes your dark day and turns it into light. And I want to give you an opportunity today. And maybe there's some of us who have a relationship with him but walked away. That's all right. Today's the day. Today's today that you can have Isaiah 61 Jesus standing with you, comforting you, taking your ashes, mending broken hearts. And if that's you, if you are recommitting or making a first-time commitment, pray with me. Jesus, I need you. I need for you to redeem this heart. I'm asking you to be Lord of my life. I need a God who exchanges ashes for crowns, a God who comforts me when I'm mourning, a God who Ask me for my broken heart so he can mend it. A God who, when I can't get out of the mess I made, when I burnt some stuff down, that you can fix it. I need you, Jesus. And for the rest of us, Lord, that we would understand that the condition we're all in is hurting. That's not even the question. The question is what are we going to do while we're hurting? Will we help? Will we follow you? Will we be your disciple? Knowing that you are constantly looking at us and trying to meet our need. Help us, Holy Spirit, in Jesus' name. Amen.